Good afternoon. Thank you guys. I see a few of you are back from yesterday's session and I appreciate it. I think we're going to have a little bit of fun with this one because we all know each other. We're good friends. We're good partners. We worked together for a long time. For those who don't know, I'm Matt Bennett with HID. I look after HID's technology partnerships, alliances, wallet acceleration. Basically, think of me as Mr. Mobile Access. Anything that gets rid of the plastic card as fast as we possibly can is what I wake up and think about every single day. And I do that through incredible partners like Dan at Smart Spaces. If you want to introduce yourself real quick.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Dan Drogman. I'm the CEO of Smart Spaces, a business I founded with my brother Tom 14 years ago. Believe it or not, it's gone very quickly. And yeah, what is a smart building operating system? So we have a smartphone application, typically branded by the client. So the GPE app is the GPE app, the Landsec app is the Landsec app, the Hogan Lovells app will be the Hogan Lovells app. So we sit in the background, we're the technology enablers. And what that translates to is a smartphone app that gives you access to the space, access to book the resources, to book meeting rooms, book desks, order your coffee, but then store all the data and patterns of how you use the office, bring that into an analytics dashboard where you can improve your service and get that feedback loop from the customer. And that also includes integrating with things like the lighting control, the BMS, the energy management system, the CCTV, to get as much data on how someone uses the office as possible to optimize it and ultimately save energy and make the customers happy. And our purpose at Smart Spaces is optimizing environments for people and planet. And I think we do a pretty good job at that. So over to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Dan. So yeah, David Vigor, HID. I look after our business development across Europe. So I look after all of our largest enterprise customers across the region, but also critically a lot of the large landlord and commercial real estate opportunities that we have. We provide the foundation layer for access control for a load of our customers, but obviously we need to partner with companies like Smart Spaces to enable, yes, we are the foundation for security, but we need to do the smarts on top, and Smart Spaces and HID work really closely on lots of key customers as a result.
Okay, so let's keep this light. Let's have a little fun with this. I guess, Dan, you and I have known each other for 2 or 3 years now. Talk a little bit about the partnership with HID, which even predates myself, and what has that done for the business over the past few years?
Yeah, certainly. So around 2008, Heinz asked us to build a intranet for one of their business parks. And we poured our hearts and souls into this intranet, and it had every single facility available to book access using a web portal. Mobile hadn't had the adoption, and the iPhone even hadn't come out at that point, or just come out. So yeah, we built this, and a couple of months in, met with the asset manager at Heinz, and they went, "Oh, how many logins you've had?" And we're like, 3. And those 3 people work for Smart Spaces. And we're like, "Oh man, this is not good," And so when we got invited by GPE around 2015 to build an app for their workplace, we already knew this. We knew you build it, they don't come. You have to bring it into their life. And we call this the toothbrush effect. You need to use it at least twice a day. And so the key for that is mobile access. And so straight away in 2015, we're like, if we make this the device they use to access the space, when we advertise the services in the space, they get to see that every day. And, that translates for Workspace Group. For Chris, for instance, I think once we rolled out the mobile access, your event attendance went up 400%. So once you get it in front of them, you've got that advertising, you're into their behavior, their patterns. But look, early mobile access wasn't good, was it? Bluetooth, Jack, how bad is Bluetooth mobile access? It's like you literally get to the lock, you're like, is it going to unlock? Delayed. It's like people are like, this is supposed to be better than plastic cars, not worse. And so, yeah, we were evaluating all the manufacturers, and obviously HID being one of the main players in the space was a company we approached, we partnered with. And I think the thing that we learned very quickly is the scale of HID being part of Assa Abloy. The money you can invest into R&D and quality assurance is second to none, and it's the reliability. And we found with other manufacturers that we just were getting so many support tickets, and the problem with that is that it doesn't really look bad on your brand as it does on me, because they know they're using the Smart Spaces app, or even worse, the GPE app. It actually makes GPE look bad if it doesn't work very well. And so, yeah, we got fed up with the manufacturers just letting us down. And I think the reason we've partnered with HID and we're now an elite partner is because you've got the reliability and the quality assurance. And so you make me look good, and vice versa, we hope.
Okay. All right. let's change gears a little bit here. There's a question that's been asked a lot over the past few days. What is a smart building and what makes a smart building smart? I know my take on it, but I want to hear your guys' take on what actually makes a smart building smart.
Yeah, sure. So from our perspective, we're providing the foundation layer of security within the building, and but it's clearly there are lots of different elements of sensors that you can get within commercial real estate property that enable a lot of understanding and data that could be considered smart, but actually it's beyond that, isn't it? So it's how you then actually utilize that data that becomes key, and how you actually generate that smart understanding. So taking that data, cross-referencing it with other data sources, enabling decision makers to actually make some decisions as a result that actually change and improve their business from an operational standpoint or a strategic standpoint in some cases. This technology, both from an input perspective, but also collaborating together with other sources of data, can enable businesses to truly change how they go to market.
Cool. I think a smart building for me is a building that continually improves itself. And it's having that feedback, that 360 feedback loop. So, one of the most important person is the end user that uses the building every day. And once you have the smartphone application in their hands, and you understand how they use your building, and you can understand which facilities actually get used, which don't, and also get the support tickets and analyze those and look at where you can make improvements, that is a truly smart building. And that's one that becomes sticky because people can see you're making change. Like we're a tenant of Workspace, and since they've taken over our building, we've noticed they do that. They look at the data, it goes into their CRM, and the space just gets better. We've got better events. We've now got mobile access finally, which we've been asking for a long time, which is really good, which is a bit embarrassing when you're smart spaces and you haven't got smart access on the front door of the building. But yeah, it's the feedback loop, and I think that's the smart element.
Okay, one of my favorite questions.
Just to add to that, I mean, for the Workspace is a very good example of actually enabling from a strategic perspective their solution. So it's not like it's an HR department that actually is saying, well, wouldn't it be great if we could use a mobile instead of plastic? For them, it becomes an enabler and adds incremental value on top of all the great stuff that they do for their customers as well.
No, good point. And I'm going to pick on Chris for a second here and just highlight the fact that as we're talking about the partnership between Smart Spaces and HID, we launched together the world's first implementation of Corporate Badge and Google Wallet. And it was actually with Workspace across multiple properties now of yours. And we're very proud of that. And we have a lot of partners and a very small number that we trust to be first in the world because they represent our brand. And Smart Spaces epitomizes that. I mean, there's a reason that we're here and that we're all brought together. So, Chris, thank you for attending. I'm going to change gears here just for a second. One of my favorite questions, rub your crystal ball and tell me what the next 3 to 5 years of the physical security industry looks like. I've got a take I'll add at the end, but I want to hear from you guys first.
From my perspective, I think it's the frictionless access. So security needs to be a fundamental, unquestionable element of what we do. But how do we evolve that and embrace the user experience such that they no longer, it's great to move from plastic to mobile, and that improves a lot of elements. But actually, we all see in Amazon grocery services where you can actually just walk out with goods, and it makes people feel weird. But culturally, people are getting used to that, and will evolve over time, where now mobile payment is seen as second to none. It's very ordinary within our culture, especially within the UK, but especially within Europe as well. But beyond that, it's going to become more and more normal for us to just walk out and walk in the buildings. So how do we enable that type of use case, but still ensure the security that is fundamental to what we need?
Yeah, we covered a little bit of this yesterday, but it's the ultra wideband. An ultra wideband means that you won't need to present the credential to the reader. So you just leave your phone in your pocket, it authenticate you and let you through. And we've been trying to do this for a long time, and there's many a building where we've implemented the Bluetooth at 200 Gray's Inn Road, and you approach the turnstile and it opens the one on the other side of the building. You're like, oh, that's not working. And so really Bluetooth just hasn't been the right technology for that. and ultra wideband will give us that facility. And when I talk to all our real like high-end private equity hedge fund clients, that's the dream. Like, they don't want barriers, they hate barriers. They want it to be, just a normal reception. They don't want security guards. They don't want it. They want it to look really nice, pristine, and they just want to identify if you don't work in the company, but they don't want lanyards. And so essentially, linking ultra wideband to the CCTV, the phone will authenticate. It will call the lift to your home floor. But if you walk in and you don't have the credential in your pocket, it will tell security that you're not authenticated, and someone will approach you and say, "Sorry, sir, can I see your ID?" And I think actually more in the future, that's going to link to your passport eventually. I think your passport in your wallet will be the identity that you give to the building, and then you take it back. And that guarantees that person is that person. That could be authenticated through biometric. I think it might in the future actually come to the point where your passport then starts to have your qualifications on it and stuff. So if you're like health and safety trained, or that will be on your passport, so you can get access to a building site, for instance. I think that's the way it's going. It is a little bit scary. So I don't know how much I'm happy about that element to a certain extent, because I've got no qualifications. I made them all up. So so that will come out. And, But I think the frictionless will be amazing. And so many. Even coming through that barrier, I was eating a cupcake, and I had to get my hand, and I was like, if it's passive and it just opens, I'll love it.
Yeah, and I think from my perspective, the two driving themes for us are frictionless, which again represents ultra wideband. I think that is the next iteration, next evolution of where access control is going. But I think the other challenge that we at HID truly have a responsibility to solve is ease of integration. And I know that's something that you feel every day with just the massive library of integrations you have to maintain. One of the challenges that the physical security industry has is we have no standards. Everything is a one-off, disparate, bespoke, proprietary approach, and it becomes incredibly challenging. It presents an opportunity for companies like you guys, but it becomes really challenging for the broader market to integrate all of these different credentialing technologies and different access control technologies. So HID sits on numerous affiliations and boards and working groups that are trying to solve a standardization challenge. We are trying to evaluate the standards that are emerging right now and see if they have legs. And if they don't, we are trying to create standards where standards don't exist. So 5 years, potentially 10 years from now, we really do hope that integrations with the various access control systems become a plug and play approach. But until then, I think there's a huge opportunity for companies like you guys to really differentiate yourselves from everyone else with the ease of integrations. So there's more to come on that. And then I think the other thing that I would recommend anyone here in the physical security space to keep an eye on is the upcoming move towards a commoditization of credential technologies. So right now, there are multiple credential technologies that exist, and there's a large push from the tech manufacturers, from Apple, from Google, from Samsung, and others, to create one unified credential that works across anyone's system. And that's really the dream. But you're fighting against inertia, and you're fighting against 30 to 40 years of an industry that is incredibly proprietary. So keep an eye on the CSA space, the upcoming Aliro spec on the credential. There's a lot of really exciting things coming that will enable portability of that credential, which all goes back to the identity that you were talking about, and linking that credential to your identity, and then linking other services to your digital identity as well.
Just to add to that,
Please.
the reason you don't see my brother at this conference because he's still working on the integrations. That's the reality. So many people have come up to me today and gone, "Where's Tom?" I'm like, "Yep, he's working on the integration." I think it's some of the projects that Workspace gave him this week, actually.
Good. All right. Slightly switching gears, but I want to ask you guys, how do you feel we are educating the industry about trends, upcoming topics, what's new, and what can we do better in terms of educating the industry?
I think actually, I said it yesterday, but say it again today, is that this year has been the mobile first year. So previously we were fighting against plastic cards. And I think that's all the promo work we've done. But littering the internet with videos of 22 Bishopsgate, of GPE, of Workspace, of all our clients with their phones going, "Look at me." I think finally people have gone, "Oh, that's what we want. We want that." And I think you've now got the case studies where people have deployed it and actually seen the efficiencies. I think that a lot of people take for granted that you are actually removing from a process someone getting a plastic card, scanning that plastic card, maybe applying a photo to that card, maybe going to the security office to collect it, only to lose it and go and ask for another one the following week, and it's got a cost attached to it. When that is completely automated in a self-serve process where you download an app, you've got a credential, you get into the building, your security team that administers that can reduce. And I think you probably started to see that at Canary Wharf, Mark. But yeah, so yeah, I think that's a key element. So yeah, I think the education piece is key. But I think we've finally tilted over to the point where mobile access will be the norm.
Yeah, so a lot of work done by a lot of people, developing that proposition and shouting about it. We certainly have seen a lot of feedback from focus groups that we've held in the UK recently. We held a focus group that had a number of large enterprise FTSE 100 companies and commercial real estate providers, all of which were feeding back that, mobile was this big trend that they were identifying, maybe not simple, needs a lot of work behind it over lots of period of time, but a lot of the customers that have made that journey sort of helping some of those others along the way as well. So that's an important part that we notice as well. So customers are starting to feedback on mobile, but also from an ambition perspective, HID is a large provider of physical plastic cards, but we have an ambition to actually sell over 1 billion mobile credentials by the end of this decade. So, there's a huge ambition for us to, innovate as well within this space. And we've been structuring ourselves to drive for this mobile change. I think lastly, also, we need end users and consumers to sort of change that culture as well. So what we've seen with contactless payments, it's been heavily embraced and it's been made to be very, very easy. And once you've tried it, and I think Dan said earlier, it's that toothbrush approach, which I'm going to steal now, try it twice a day. But it really is the case of, someone goes in and makes payment. It's very easy. They don't feel stupid anymore and they make more and more and more. And then suddenly you forget why you brought cash and you're turning up at the rugby club and they're asking you for money for the £2 for parking and they're still having to tap to pay it. It's going to become second nature. But we need the culture to evolve from an end user perspective as well, like the end users, employees as well. So that needs to be another education piece that we look at.
And just to add to that, obviously, the massive benefit of switching to mobile is how readily accessible the occupancy data is. You can then monitor, site by site, office by office, your utilization. And that's, something you've already had to pay for. You haven't had to pay for extra sensors to do that. So it becomes a really valuable data set to analyze how efficient your office space is.
Okay. I'm going to leave it there. I think that we've got 5 minutes left. If anyone has questions in the audience, physical security, app consolidation, let us know. Any questions?
Stu must have a question.
Come on.
All the questions are left in the nightclub last night.
Okay, well, if there are no questions, again, shameless plug. You guys know where to find us here. A big kudos and a big thank you to Smart Spaces for organizing this and getting all these like-minded companies together here in one room, in one space. I encourage you to come talk to us and everyone else in the space about what we can do in a smart building. So with that, thank you guys.
Thank you.